Here's your wrestling news for August 11th, 2022, and we're kicking off today with AEW as Chris Jericho took on interim AEW World Champion Jon Moxley last night, and fans saw a new, or rather old side of Y2J. Walking out to his vintage Lionheart theme music wearing old school Lionheart gear, this was a great excuse to not play Judas, riling up the crowd. The clean-shaven Jericho looked 10 years younger in his Lionheart gear and worked in Arena Mexico style, the same he would have worked when starting off as the Lionheart decades ago, but it was in working this style that his age started to show. At one point, Jericho tore off Moxley's ear piercing, which had us thinking back to Triple H and Batista at WrestleMania 35, and earned the former world champion a "You sick f*** chant from the crowd. In what is becoming a literal streak in AEW World title matches, Moxley started bleeding, as has become the norm for the interim AEW World Champion. A picture-perfect Lionsault was followed up with a peculiar spot where Dynamite went to a picture-in-picture commercial break during a climactic moment when Jon Moxley was trapped in the Boston Crab. When Sammy Guevara tried to interfere, he threw a baseball bat too far, with Jericho scrambling to get it, and threw a turnbuckle to the floor to distract referee Aubrey Edwards. It was with the exposed turnbuckle that Jericho hit the Judas effect on Moxley, but the champ became the first person to ever kick out of the move. Despite Jericho's best efforts, it was Moxley's night, who made Chris, who bled far more than Mox, tap out. With the main event finishing at 9:55 p.m. Eastern, it was clear that AEW had some post-match angle, and that proved to be the return of AEW World Champion CM Punk. AEW chose not to strip Punk of his title when he got injured earlier this year, instead crowning Jon Moxley the interim AEW World Champion at Forbidden Door due to his win over New Japan's Hiroshi Tanahashi. Moxley flipped off Punk and blew right by him, setting up what will be a great feud, and with so much focus on WWE's new era in recent weeks, a high-profile feud is something AEW needs a lot right now. Punk's return was something fans had wanted to see for some time, so it's hardly surprising that fans freaked out on social media. One fan said that AEW had been saved by the return of Punk, while another shared their excitement for Punk's first comments back, saying his promos will be otherworldly. Another fan compared Punk's return to Dexter Lumis's return to WWE on Raw, while several people question how they can choose who to support between Punk and Moxley. Whatever you think of Punk's return, his comeback has certainly had fans talking, and we'll just have to wait and see how AEW follows up after this monumental return. Speaking of returns, several superstars have returned to WWE in recent weeks, and Bray Wyatt could indeed be next. Wyatt's release in July 2021 shocked fans given how popular he and the Fiend character had been, but with a change of management, some of us suggested that Triple H will be the one to bring him back. Sean Ross Sapp tweeted this week that WWE's upper management are more confident than ever that Wyatt will be back. Do you all want me to run a report tomorrow on why some WWE higher-ups believe they are more likely to regain Bray Wyatt now than before? Details are still scarce, but we know that for his final 2 years in WWE, Wyatt was a huge merch seller, and it's believed that the issues behind his release were between himself and Vince McMahon. With McMahon gone, it seems more likely than ever that Wyatt will be back in what will be one of the biggest signings Triple H will make under his new role with the company. Ever since Triple H took charge of WWE's creative and talent relations, the wrestling world has been abuzz about what this could possibly mean. We've already seen some former superstars return to WWE now under the game's watch, and some have speculated that perhaps some of the ex-superstars in AEW could be next to jump back to their former employer. Both Andrade El Idolo and Miro recently liked tweets saying that they are underutilized in AEW and would be doing bigger things if they left for WWE. Appearing on Busted Open Radio this week, Tony Khan discussed the idea that WWE could soon have some AEW stars on their show, and was quick to dispel the rumors. I don't know if this was meant to be taken seriously, but it was by a person who claims they break real news that I'm in negotiations, allegedly, with WWE about them buying out wrestlers' contracts and stuff, and it's just like completely fake reports that people put out in the world. Khan has said he's pleased that WWE is bigger competition for him, and that it'll ultimately improve the wrestling world. But if the AEW president has his way, nobody will be jumping to anywhere anytime soon. Now, when you say something on Twitter, you never know how it may be received, and that's a lesson a lot of people have learned over the years. This week, NXT's own Amari Miller learned that lesson the hard way, as in a tweet about the NXT Women's Championship quickly went viral for the wrong reasons. In a tweet, Miller spoke about Ember Moon, now AEW's Athena, praising her as the first and only African-American NXT Women's Champion. When fans responded by referencing Sasha Banks, Miller doubled down, sharing a screenshot that Banks is half African-American on her father's side and that her mother is of German descent. Miller's policing of who counts as African-American did not go down well, and this resulted in the NXT star deleting her Twitter account. With reports that Banks will be returning to WWE, the last thing the company needs is a reason for her to leave, so hopefully Miller will think twice the next time she posts online. More from AEW, which last night saw a coffin match in which Darby Allin finally took down Brody King. Allin didn't wait for the bell to start as he attacked King mid-entrance, and the House of Black member would later receive a cut on his forehead. After Allin took control of the match during the initial stages, this prompted House of Black's Buddy Murphy to make his return to attack Allin, as did Malachi Black and Julia Hart. With Allin's fate apparently sealed, Matthews opened the coffin only to reveal that Sting were inside, and then made quick work of Buddy and King. In the ring, the Icon threw his bat to Black, daring him to attack him, but instead of facing Sting, who still bore the marks of a Black missed attack, Malachi smirked and walked away. Darby used the distraction to his advantage, choking King out with his own chain, and he collapsed into the coffin, giving the former NXT champion the win. Given how the feud between Sting and the House of Black is intensifying, it remains to be seen what's next, but this week's coffin match proved to be the highlight on Dynamite. And we're ending today with Eric Rowan, who many believe teased a return to WWE this week. Mere moments after the return of Dexter Lumis on Raw, the former Bludgeon Brother tweeted a cryptic message about persistence and walking through interesting doorways, which had fans speculating that he'd be the next to return. That may not be the case, though, as Sean Ross Sapp reports that Rowan was backstage at last night's AEW Dynamite. The report said how Rowan was not exactly hiding, and that those backstage were bound to see him. Since his release from WWE 2 years ago, Rowan has appeared for several promotions, including AEW, most recently teaming with the Death Triangle at Revolution 2022. Rowan, who now works as Eric Redbeard, didn't appear last night, but it was interesting to see that he was backstage, and we'll just have to see where exactly he ends up. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.